नमो ओं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, I hope all you are doing well. Today we'll be reading from chapter 9, chapter 8, from Nectar of Devotion, Offense to be Avoided. Offense to be avoided. So, if you have not listened our previous videos, so you can check out from our playlist. So, before we start today, we will pray first. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः नारायणं नमस्कृतं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये जयो श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे offense to be avoided. So let's begin chapter 8, offense to be avoided. In the supplementary Vedic literature there is following list of 32 offense in the 32 offense in the matter of serving of the Lord. One should not enter the temple of the deity in car or palanquin or with shoes on the feet. One should not fail to observe the various festival. Number two, one should not fail to observe the various festival for the pleasure. One should not fail to observe the various festivals for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality Godhead, just as Janmashtami and Rath Yatra. One should not avoid bowing down before the deity. One should not enter the temple to worship the Lord without having washed one hand or feet after eating. One should not enter the temple in a contaminated state. According to the Vedic scripture, if someone die in the family, the whole family become contaminated for some time, according to its status. For example, if the family is Brahmana, their contamination period will be 12 days. If the Kshatriya or Vaishya, 15 days, and the Sudra, 30 days. One should not bow down on one hand. One should not circumambulate in front of Sri Krishna. One should not circumambulate in front of Sri Krishna. The process of circumambulating temple is that one should begin circumambulating from the deity right hand side of the temple and come to round. Such circumambulation should be performed outside in the temple structure at least 3 times daily. One should not spread his leg before the deity. One should not sit before the deity holding an ankle, elbow, a knee with one hand. One should not lie down before deity of Krishna. One should not accept prasada before the deity. One should not accept prasada before the deity. One should never speak a lie before the deity. One should not talk very loudly before the deity. One should not talk with other before the deity. One should not cry or howl before the deity. 16, one should not quarrel or fight before the deity. 17, one should not chastise anyone before the deity. 18, one should not be charitable to beggar before the deity. 19, one should not speak very harshly to others before the deity. 20, one should not wear a fur blanket before the deity. 21, one should not analyze or praise anyone else before the deity. 22, one should not speak any ill name before the deity. 23, one should not pass air before the deity. One should not fail. One should not fail to worship the one should not fail to worship the deity according to one's means. In Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that Lord is satisfied in some devotees offer him even a leaf or little water. The formula prescribed by the Lord is universally applicable, even for the poorest man. Uh, but that does not mean that one who has a sufficient mean to worship the Lord very nicely should also adopt this method and try to satisfy the Lord simply by offering water and leaf. If he has sufficient mean, he should offer nice doctrine, nice kind of flower, and nice foodstuff, and all and observe all ceremony. It is not that one should not try to satisfy the supreme Lord with little water and leave for himself, spend all his money for sense gratification. One should not eat anything that is not offered first to Krishna. One should not eat anything that is not offered first to Krishna. One should not fail to offer kind of fresh one should not fail to offer fresh food or grain Krishna according to the season. After food has been cooked, no one should be offered any foodstuff unless it is first offered to the deity. 27, after food is cooked, no one should offer any foodstuff unless it is first offered to deity. 28, one should not sit with his back towards the deity. 29, one should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master. One should not offer obeisances silently to the spiritual master, or in other word, one should recite aloud. One should recite aloud the prayer to the spiritual master while offering obeisances. 30, one should not fail to offer some praise in the presence of spiritual master. 31, one should not praise himself before the spiritual master. 31, one should not praise himself before the spiritual master. 32, one should not deride the demigod before the deity. One should not deride the demigod before the deity. This is the list of 32 offenses. Beside this, there are a number of offenses which are mentioned in the Baraha Purana. Beside these, there are a number of offenses which are mentioned in the Baraha Purana. They are as follows: one should not touch the deity in dark room. One should not fail to strictly follow the rules and regulation in worship the deity. One should not enter the temple of the deity without first making some sound. One should not offer any foodstuff to the deity which has been seen by dog other lower animal. One should not offer any foodstuff to the deity which has been seen by dog other lower animal. One should not break silence while one should not break silence while worshipping. One should not pass urine or evacuate while engaging in worshipping. One should not offer incense without offering some flower. One should not offer incense without offering some flower. Unless flower without any fragrance should not be offered. Useless flowers without any of fragrance should not be can offer. One should not fail to wash his teeth very carefully every day. One should not fail to wash his teeth very carefully every day. One should not enter the temple directly after sexual intercourse. One should not enter the temple directly after sexual intercourse. One should not enter the temple after touching the woman during her menstruation period. One should not enter the temple after touching a dead body. One should not enter the temple wearing garment or red or blue color or garment which are unwashed. One should not enter the temple wearing garment of red, blue color or garment which are unwashed. One should not enter the temple after seeing a dead body. One should not pass any air within the temple. One should not be very angry within the temple. One should not enter the temple after visiting crematorium. One should not enter the temple after visiting a crematorium. One should not bleach before the deity until one is kind of fully digested digest his kind of food. He should not enter the temple. One should not smoke marijuana or ganja. One should not take opium or kind of similar intoxication. One should not take an opium or similar intoxication. One uh, should not enter the deity room or touch the body of the deity after having the smeared oil over his body. One should not show disrespect to the scriptures teaching about the supremacy of the Lord. One should not introduce any opposing scriptures. One should not introduce any opposing scriptures. Should not one should not chew a betel before the deity. One One should not offer a flower that was kept in unclean pot. One should not worship the Lord while sitting on the bare floor. One must have sitting place a carpet. Carpet. One should not worship the Lord while sitting on the bare floor. One must have sitting a place or carpet. One should not touch the deity before has completed taking birth. One should not touch the deity before one has completed taking birth. One should not decorate his forehead with three lined tilaka. One should not decorate One should not decorate his forehead with three lined tilaka. One should not enter temple without washing his hand and feet. One should not enter the temple without washing his hand and feet. Other rules are that one should not offer foodstuff which is cooked by non-Vaishnava. One should not one should not worship the deity before a non-devotee. One should not engage himself in the worship of the Lord while seeing a non-devotee. One should not worship the deity before a non-devotee. One should not engage himself in the worship of the Lord. One should not engage himself in the worship of the Lord while seeing a non-devotee. One should not worship the deity without first worshipping the demigod Ganapati. One should not worship the deity without first worshipping demigod Ganapati, who derive all our impediment in the execution of devotional service. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that Ganapati worship the lotus feet of Lord Nrsimhadeva, and in that way has going to become auspicious for the devotee in clearing out all impediment. Therefore, all devotees should worship Ganapati. The deity should not be bathed in water that has been touched by nail or finger. When the devotee is perspiring, he should not engage himself in worshipping the deity. Similarly, there are many other prohibitions. For example, one should not cross or step over the flower offered to the deity, nor should one take the vow in the name of God. These are all the different kind of offenses in the matter of executing devotional service, and one should not be very one should be very, one should be careful to avoid them. One should be careful to avoid them. In the Padma Purana, it is stated that even a person whose life completely sinful will be completely protected by the Lord if he simply surrender unto him. So it is accepted that one who surrender unto the Supreme Personality Godhead become free from all sinful reaction. And even when a person become an offender unto the Supreme Personality Godhead himself, he can still be delivered simply by taking shelter of the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. In other words, the chanting of Hare Krishna is beneficial for eradicating all sin. But if one become an offender to the holy name of the Lord, then he has no chance of being delivered. The offense against of chanting the holy name are as follows. Number one, to blaspheme the devotee who have dedicated their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord, to consider the name of the demigod, that to consider the name of demigod like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Sometimes the atheistic class of men take it that any demigod is as good as Supreme Personality Godhead Vishnu, but one who is a devotee knows that no demigod, however great he may be, is independently as good as the Supreme Personality Godhead. Therefore, if someone think that he can chant, if someone think that he can chant Kali Kali or Durga Durga, and it is the same as a Hare Krishna, that is the greatest offense. Third, to disobey the order of the spiritual master, to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance in the Vedic version. Five, to consider the glory of chanting the Hare Krishna to be imagination, to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord, to commit sinful activity on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. It should not be taken that because by chanting of the holy name of the Lord, one can be free from all kind of sinful reaction. One may continue to act sinfully, and after that chant Hare Krishna to neutralize his sin. Such a dangerous mentality is very offensive and should be avoided. To consider the chanting the Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritualistic activity offered in the Veda as a fruitive activity, karma kanda, to instruct a faithless person about the glory of the holy name. Anyone can take part in chanting of the holy name of the Lord, but in the beginning, one should not be instructed about the transcendental potency of the Lord. Those who are too sinful cannot appreciate the transcendental glory of the Lord. Therefore, it is better not to instruct them in his matter. 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name, and to maintain the material attachment even after understanding so many instruction on his matter. Even devotee who claim to be a Vaishnava must guard against this offense in order to quickly achieve the desired success. So, Hare Krishna. Here we concluded reading of Bhaktivedanta purport from Nectar of Devotion. I hope all you understood. Now let's go into the insight. Please listen till the end. Thank you.
Today, we are diving deep into the rules of Vedic devotional practice. It's a path that's guided by a system of, quote, offenses, but hold on, they're probably not what you're thinking. We're going to see how this entire framework is really designed to turn simple actions into a profound state of being. So let me start with a question for you. How do you show ultimate respect? I mean, really think about it. If you were meeting a head of state, or walking into a quiet library, or stepping into a sacred space, you know there's a certain protocol, right? A way you carry yourself. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about today, just on a spiritual level. This isn't about being afraid of punishment. It's a system for cultivating the absolute deepest respect and focus you can imagine. And to really get this, we have to get one key distinction out of the way right up front. We are talking about sacred rules, not sins. The goal here isn't to create a laundry list of things to feel guilty about. It's about identifying and removing the obstacles on your own personal spiritual journey. Think of your spiritual connection kind of like a radio signal. A devotional offense isn't a sin that makes the broadcaster angry with you. No, it's much more like static, an action or a state of mind that just creates interference, making it harder for you to hear the signal clearly. These rules are just a guide to help you tune in perfectly. So, where does this journey begin? Well, believe it or not, it starts before you even set foot inside the temple. The very first set of rules is all about purity and preparation. It's about creating a very clear separation between the ordinary world outside and the secret space you're about to walk into. It all starts with that moment of transition. Taking off your shoes, washing your hands. These are simple physical acts, but they're like triggers for a mental shift. You're consciously, deliberately leaving the dust and the distractions of the outside world behind. Even making a sound before you enter. That's a way of respectfully announcing your presence instead of just barging right in. And this preparation, it goes deeper. It's about your own personal state. The whole idea is to approach the divine in a state of calmness and ritual purity, free from really potent biological energies or intoxicants, or even strong colors that might distract your mind. It's all about presenting yourself in a neutral, focused condition, totally ready for worship. Okay, so you've prepared yourself, you've entered the sacred space. Now what? Well, a whole new set of guidelines kicks in, and these are all about how you conduct yourself in the direct presence of the deity, which is the focal point of all this devotion. Get this, the primary Vedic texts actually lay out 32 main offenses in the service of the Lord. Now, don't worry, we are not going to go through every single one, but they cover everything from your posture to the sounds you make, and every single one is designed to foster respect. This really all boils down to humility and attention. Bowing on one hand or spreading your legs while you sit, those are casual, almost careless postures, right? The recommended actions, like bowing down fully and always facing the deity, are physical expressions of the inner state you're trying to achieve, one of complete focus and reverence. And, the same exact principle applies to sound. The temple is meant to be a space that's free of all that mundane noise. So things like quarreling, loud chatter, even praising other people in front of the deity are seen as distractions. The only sounds should be the ones that actually elevate the spiritual atmosphere, like prayers and praises directed to the divine. And of course, this way of thinking extends to offerings and food. And what's really interesting is the balance here. You should worship according to your financial means. Sincerity is way more important than extravagance. But whatever you offer and whatever you eat, the principle is the same. The divine comes first. Offering food to the deity before you eat is a constant physical reminder of that priority. Okay, so after hearing about these 32 different rules, it might feel like, wow, that is a lot to keep track of. But here's the thing. The source material says there is one single practice so powerful it can basically wipe the slate clean and neutralize any of these potential offenses we've just discussed. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. This incredibly powerful, purifying practice comes with its own set of rules. And offending these rules, well, that's considered far more serious than any physical misstep. This is where we shift from external actions to internal intention. And that brings us right to the very heart of the matter, the 10 offenses related to the chanting of the holy names. This is where the focus shifts completely, from what you do with your body to what you do with your mind, your beliefs, and your heart. According to texts like the Padma Purana, chanting the holy names, we're talking mantras like Hare Krishna, is the supreme method for purification. It's considered a direct line to the divine, capable of clearing away all past missteps. And because it's so powerful, it has to be approached with the utmost care. So, the texts are super specific. They lay out 10 offenses against the holy name, and devotees are cautioned to guard against these 10 very, very carefully if they want to achieve the desired success. So, let's break them down. The first 4 are really all about respecting the context and the lineage of the practice. I mean, you can't claim to respect the message if you're disrespecting the messengers, the scriptures, or the spiritual guides who teach it. This also includes not seeing the names of demigods, who are powerful beings that manage the universe, as being on the same level as the name of the Supreme Lord. It's all seen as an interconnected whole. Okay, this next one is fascinating because it gets right into the psychology of it all. It's the mindset of, I can do whatever I want because I can just chant later to erase the sin. The texts call this a dangerous mentality, and for good reason. It totally corrupts the purpose of the practice, turning a tool for purification into an excuse for bad behavior. The final offenses are even more subtle because they deal with your internal state. Are you doing it with full faith, or do you secretly think it's just imagination? Are you chanting for a pure connection, or are you just doing it as a ritual to get some material thing? And finally, are you still clinging to material attachments, even though you understand the real purpose of the practice? These are the deepest questions of intent. So, after this whole journey from the physical rules of the temple to the subtle intentions of the mind, what's the big picture? What is the ultimate path to success that all of these guidelines are pointing towards? When you boil it all down, it really comes back to these core principles. The vast majority of the rules, a full 40%, are simply a framework for cultivating profound respect. Then you have purity, both external and internal. That's followed by unwavering focus. And underpinning all of it is sincerity in your efforts. And this is the main takeaway. It may look like a long list of don'ts, but the goal was never restriction just for the sake of it. The entire system is a training ground for the mind and the body, designed specifically to cultivate the humility and the laser-sharp attentiveness that are considered essential for forging a genuine, deep connection. Which leaves us with a final thought. Think about a master musician, a top surgeon, or an Olympic athlete. They all submit to years of intense discipline and follow incredibly strict rules. They don't do this to be constrained, they do it because they know that mastering the rules is what ultimately gives them the freedom to create, to heal, and to perform beautifully. So the question is, in any craft, spiritual or otherwise, does mastering the rules really set you free?